That'll be on connected things, infrastructure and utilities, smart cities, making security and privacy inherent character of the evolution. And our moderator for this panel discussion is Dr. Rishi Bhatnagar, Global Head, Digital Enterprise Services, Tech Mahindra. So I request him to please join us on stage. Welcome, sir. I request Mr. Rishikesh Kamath, Associate VP, Product Development and Marketing, NetMagic Solutions, to please join us on stage. I would invite Mr. Muni Raju Pulipalyam from Microsoft to please join us on stage for the panel discussion. Welcome, sir. Mr. Chetan Gaglani, Global MD Security Services Accenture, to please join us for the panel discussion. All right, ladies and gentlemen, can we have a huge round of applause, please, for our panelists? And Dr. Rishi Bhatnagar is the moderator for the session, so I request you to please start the panel discussion. Thank you. No, it's not working.
Hello. Is it audible now? Yeah. Okay. So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for being here. It's a topic which is very close to everybody now, with the new government focusing on smart city and smart infrastructure, utilities, and security being one of the major problems and one of the major concern or challenge which the whole industry and the whole world is going to face and is facing, is something which we are going to talk today. And I'd like to introduce the esteemed panel which is with me. And first of all, Chetan. He is the Global Managing Director responsible for security services delivered out of large delivery organization. In his organization, the digital group looks after the smart city, but when they implement the smart city solutions, how the security will be implemented there and what kind of challenges and what kind of best practices they should focus on is something which he and his team looks after. We have with us Muni from Microsoft. He is the worldwide IoT capability lead with a focus on smart city projects. And honestly, I was talking to him before coming inside, and he has been in India and doing consulting and very much participating in the smart city initiative. And when he told me that he was participating and learned about the Glasgow smart city, I think his experience will be very relevant for us to learn that what kind of security features were added and how can we help in making this, institutionalizing the security implementation. Rishikesh is from Entity, and he is the product head for managed security and private cloud. And I am very, very thankful to all of them to come over here. The topic, I just thought of, before starting, let's go through few slides which are there, and because the topic is the infrastructure, utilities, and smart cities. And we three have seen this slide back, so we might not be turning our neck there, but it's going to be easy for you. So the three, the topic today, connected infrastructure. The Cisco came out with a number that there will be 50 billion plus devices that will get connected. Okay. In India, the current number is somewhere around, say, 1 billion connected devices. And it is expected to be 2.5 billion in next 5 years. That's how the number looks like. With so many connected devices, the kind of security threats and the challenges becomes much more. And because I'm assuming the people knows Internet of Things, which start with the sensor or devices, then the gateway, then the connectivity, and then the solution on top of it, and the analytical reports coming out. This means that we have challenges across the device, the gateway, the connectivity, so on and so forth. So if there are 50 billion devices connected, which means that there are 50 billion areas which are vulnerable for threats. But when we think about three main people, three main groups, which will be connected and which will be, which will have some kind of impact of connectivity, first the people ourselves. So people are wearing the healthcare devices, the Fitbits kind of thing, or smart homes from mobile they're connecting, the smart cars, so on and so forth. Then the organizations which are focusing on the revenue growth, profitability, etc., are again working on, and now the governments. The government of India has started the initiative for the smart cities, 100 plus smart cities and so many other things. If we start talking what the smart city is, so smart city, these are the cities technology driven and use planned infrastructure. Something, planned infrastructure is something which is for the existing Indian cities is something which is missing. We have overgrown ourselves and we are not planned. Why smart cities? Because 60% of the population are moving toward the urbanization by 140 million people. I was just discussing with somebody, we are talking about France, Spain and United Kingdoms being created again. So the numbers are so high that we are thinking about 3 European big countries to be recreated in India within the next few years. So the Indian plan, I can keep on talking about this, but you all know Narendra Modi government thought about the 100 smart cities. We are already working on the 98 cities which are there, which are to be greenfield operated. Then there are 500 plus and then 1200 plus, Amrit and many other schemes which are there, housing for all, so many schemes which has all come out. So the government looks serious. But this seriousness and the kind of the framework which they have come out and the kind of tenders that are coming, we are working on all of these. The expectation is there's $41 trillion is the kind of money that will be spent in next few years for the smart cities. As a Mahindra Group, we have Mahindra Life Spaces as a company. We have 3,000 acres of land in Jaipur, near Jaipur, which we are constructed as a living, as a city, which is called Mahindra World City Jaipur. As a person, myself worked very closely with the Mahindra World City Jaipur as a living smart city lab. 16 of our IoT solutions are already implemented, and we are doing many other things. So I might be able to explain you much more on the kind of experiences and the kind of challenges which we have faced and the kind of problems and the learning from there. The 3 major challenges which we came out, and that's where I'll start with the panel discussion, and we'll give some time for the question in the end as well. Trillion points of vulnerability. When we are talking about so many connected devices, the kind of challenges which we are facing is a trillion plus devices. 70% of IoT devices are vulnerable for the cyber attack. This is the first challenge which we feel. Then the trusted data and integrity, nearly 1 million new malware threats released every day. And when we are talking about those many things, the huge number and the data collection, protection, privacy, and these are the kind of things which we believe are number of challenges. Now let's start with say Muni. Muni, what do you think can be more challenges and can be some other areas where we feel we should be worried about?
Well, the industry is actually talking about security and privacy, and data privacy and data security in general. When it comes to smart cities or machine to machine or IoT scenarios, one of the things is about identity. Think of this. We have 12.5 billion connected devices today in some way, and most of them are connected to some human being. Identity, a human being or an identifiable identity. Tomorrow when you throw in another 38 billion, multiplying it over 40 billion, 50 billion, we're talking about 4 times increase in the number of identifiable devices. And the point is, these devices in itself do not have an identity. What about my chair here, which communicates with the speaker here to turn off, turn mic, right? That's the kind of problem we're thinking of. So, identity is one of the key things. A paradigm shift in the way we do identity. Today, identity is linked to people, to users. Tomorrow, identity has to be redefined when we look at things like smart city. And one of the experiences that we found worldwide, even in the Glasgow Smart City Framework project, is that it is extremely difficult to identify a device either functioning or malfunctioning in a live smart city unless you flip the story. The technology interventions, of course, but then a framework and policy on how should identity, privacy, and security for devices be defined is something that's just evolving. That's one of the challenges that smart city smart city projects have to consider, because today security in the normal computing world is treated as a horizontal, whereas it should actually become just part of the solution. You will see people moving towards a solution.
Thank you very much for the identity management. Is one of the another challenge which we believe. Chetan, do you think you can add some more challenges to it, to the kind of revolution which you are expecting in the connectivity?
Yeah, so I'm just going to take a step back. So what is smart city, first of all, right? So if you look at the basic components of smart city, the services that a city offers, it's energy, water, transport, environment, and a few other services. And these are in security, of course. And these are core of it. And how do you make sure that these are delivered? And if you look at each of this now as part of the smart city, these have to work cohesively together. And if you look at the components, right from talking about the sensors, you're talking about the smart grid, and then you're talking about the machine to machine, you're talking about the data about that, then you're talking about the application layer, and then you talk about the access, the way people access that. So all these components have to work smoothly together, and security resides, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So with all these things connected and communicating with each other, you have to ensure that your network and everything is pretty secure. One of the biggest challenges, a lot of this is on now wireless. And so before it was a closed system, a lot of it was connected, and now you're bringing an element of open system and then everything being accessible through Wi-Fi. So it brings out a different challenge. Another thing you mentioned about the number of devices connected, the number of sensors and IoT devices that are going to be connected, that's a big challenge. How do you secure all those? Some of the inherent challenges, a lot of it is legacy. A lot of it you cannot, take an example of zero-day vulnerability. How do you make sure you go and patch some of this? A lot of it supports critical infrastructure. You can't even bring it down to patch. Your IT systems, you can do that, but your OT systems, this operational technology, is the part that you cannot just go and patch if there's a zero-day vulnerability. Or so a lot of times there is no encryption on that. So those are the kind of things that you need to be aware of. Or he spoke about the digital identity. Most of the sensors and IoT devices are hard connected. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done in terms of the digital identity to make sure these are secure. So these are some of the very inherent challenges. The other challenges, like I said earlier, all these different entities have to work together. So making sure that the governance across is in a cohesive fashion. There's a security layer above and there's a common governance. It's very, very important for it to work.
Yeah, thanks, Chetan. So a few of the key points which came out, the wireless and the kind of so many devices and how the wireless technology are going to increase the challenge of security, and definitely the governance. The governance when there are multiple entities engaged and multiple things engaged. So from Chetan's point, the wireless as well as the governance could turn out to be two key points, which I say, are further challenges because the complexity of the solutions which we are currently talking about. Rishikesh, you like to add a few things from your experience of running the operations?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with Chetan when he said that security needs to run throughout the stack of the smart city and the IoT infrastructure. A large part of that stack we see is going to be hosted in the data centers and in the cloud service providers. So we need to look at how does data center security and cloud security impact the overall security framework within the of the smart cities. And the way I look at it, it's twofold. One, in the way the data center itself is impacted by the security threats, and second is the way the connected devices are impacted, right? So let me explain it a bit more in detail. When you talk about the data center, it's basically going to process the core intelligence of how the connected devices are going to function. And my data center is vulnerable to attacks such as DDoS attacks. Right? So if I make a data center unavailable through a DDoS attack, my processing functionality is gone. Right? Think about this scenario: you've got smart meters connected, or worse, you've got train signaling devices which are connected back into the data center. They are trying to reach the data center to get information about what routing to be done for the train, and they're not able to reach. Right? That can lead to a complete chaos, and that can lead into a cascading effect of further things. Right? So by hitting the data center itself, right, this has got nothing to do with really the security about these devices which are out there. This has got more to do with the data center security itself. By hitting the data center, I've made sure that my smart city is going in for a toss. Right? That's number one. Number two, if you look at it, smart cities are smart, and IoT and everything is smart because everything is connected together. Right? The devices are connected to the data center of the solutions, and then the data center itself are running applications. So again, to take an example, a smart meter kind of a solution from in a city, right? In a connected city. I may want to control the usage of my meter even when I'm not at home, right? I may have my service provider might give me a mobile app, right? So I connect from mobile app. So there is an interface which is there at the data center. That interface in the backend connects to the the smart meters and then smart meters. And then those smart meters are controlled, right? So web application vulnerabilities and mobile vulnerabilities are not something which are new. They've been there for quite some time now, right? By exploiting those vulnerabilities, I could actually gain access to the backend infrastructure and then make modifications to the connected devices in a manner which kind of suits me, right? And if you look at it, the kind of attacks or the attackers that we will see in smart cities are not going to be a run-of-the-mill criminals who are behind money. These are going to be state-sponsored attacks because the impact is going to be pretty huge. So the kind of vulnerabilities that they will exploit are going to be very complex. The kind of threats that they put out there are going to be very complex, right? And I just want to touch on one more key thing, right, which is the connected devices itself. And unfortunately, in a country like India, this threat is much more relevant. And the fact that, as both Chetan and Muni mentioned, in terms of the fact that these devices connect over Wi-Fi, right? And that itself can be used to hack into those devices. Wi-Fi is one way, okay? You could actually even physically hack into the system. Imagine a CCTV out there on the street somewhere in a smart city in India, or it doesn't take too much to really crack into, physically get into that particular device, okay? There are even more advanced methods. I was reading a couple of months earlier how electromagnetic waves could be actually used to alter the functioning of a particular device, right? I mean, they did a POC for a laptop trying to hack into a air channel. So if that can happen, pretty much every 50 billion device which is there is vulnerable to an attack, right? And what does that mean? What that means is I can then use that as an attack vector to get into my data center. Okay, I don't really need to crack the data center because my data center is extremely protected. Let's say, theoretically assume that my data center is protected. Okay, so I crack into this weak link, and from there I get into the data center, and then I play havoc with it. So if I want to control the smart meter, I want to control the train signaling stations, I want to control anything else, I can completely go ahead and do that, right? So I think these are the three key elements, from a data center perspective that we should be looking at from in a smart city.
Yeah, thanks, Rishikesh. One very key point which you have made is, in a smart city kind of thing, the data center becomes so important and everything gets connected. So even a train or a transportation, everything, can get impacted because of a security threat in one of the centralized location. Okay, but this is the future, and we are talking about how everything can get connected. I'm just putting from Chetan's point on the governance part. Okay, because we understand that governance becomes extremely important and a challenging part in such an environment. So Chetan, starting with you, what do you think, how the governance can be improved, what kind of steps you can take on the governance part for a smart city or the smart utility kind of infrastructure?
So smart cities basically a collaborative ecosystem where all the entities need to work together. And really what makes it difficult is it's really a complex organization if you look across. And to add to that, now you're blurring the lines between the physical and the cyberspace. So that's why you can't just monitor the physical space or monitor the cyberspace. You need to have a solution that looks at end-to-end and takes care of the security from right from the sensors, the smart grid, the smart meter, to the traffic camera, to your regular IT security. It has to encompass everything as part of the governance. So you need to change your mindset on how you monitor things, how you govern things. At the same time, there are a lot of vendor-specific, and then there's a lot of proprietary things there, especially when it comes to IoT. And then this needs to be made sure that it's governed in the right way. There is accountability, there is a standardization, there is an entity that looks across and makes sure that things are uniform across in terms of standards, and they can talk to each other. Because all these devices do need to talk to each other, and then they have that accountability. Another thing is in terms of the roles and responsibilities, it has to be clear if there's any attack on a city, who's accountable, and then how do you have a collaborative approach across? Is there a common entity across who can coordinate between all these different services, whether it's the energy, whether it's water, where everybody may be doing their own thing, but when there's an attack, that could be very, very important to make sure there's a unified approach. Yeah.
So, very good points made by Chetan. Just so you know, we all are living in India and most of our cities, and we live in cities. The transportation is a different department. The police has a department for security and surveillance. The municipality looks after this road, and somebody else looks after the water. Somebody else looks after electricity. Okay. So now when we have so many connected devices, somebody doing smart water management, somebody doing smart meters, some electricity and so on and so forth, transportation. And there are different governing bodies who will be responsible. Okay. And that also makes it a big challenge. I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but the Government of India in the new framework which they have came out with on the smart city have specifically mentioned about an SPV, special purpose vehicle. The Government of India 50% joint venture with the state governments for each and every city, which is going to have a CEO. Okay. And honestly, that CEO will be responsible for all kind of solutions. So if a security surveillance cameras are being put by the police, how they can be utilized by municipality to see illegal occupation or some garbage, so on and so forth. As a result, that consolidation of data, accountability for a particular problem. These are the kind of challenges which just now Chetan has spoken about. I'm sure, there will be much more challenges when we're going to start working on it. But, honestly, to start with, an SPV model has been planned. And honestly, 2 hours back, I was in a different discussion where they were trying to see how we are going to get the good CEOs and the talent to manage those SPVs. So then that was a different kind of challenges we were talking about. But Rishikesh, from your soft kind of experience in managing security, okay, for such kind of governance of a smart city, when you are governing multiple things and multiple departments are involved, what do you think can be a better governance model to ensure that in case you have an incident, how to handle it?
Right. So I'll come to that, but I think this SPV CEO will be the kind of profile that we'll need for that will be totally different.
Yeah.
Probably it will be less of smart city security and more of people management and ego management. That would be required. Right? Okay. So coming back to your question, I think one of the important ways to coordinate this governance and make sure that it's implemented correctly is through tools.
Okay.
Through tools, right? Because in a security operations, whether you want to respond to an incident or whether we want to do forensics, having the right tools in place is of utmost importance. And let's look at what kind of infrastructure or what kind of model we're looking at. This is not your typical laptop or your desktop where you can put an antivirus and you can control that particular endpoint, right? This is a device like a CCTV camera or probably a wearable sensor or something, which has got very limited power with it, right? Which has got very limited computing capacity. So you can't really put the onus of or the burden of security on that particular device. And hence you need to then move that security control back into the data center where it's being looked at, right? So solutions that look at the packet flow that happens, solutions that look at the logs, analyze the logs that happen, solutions that take care of the DDoS attack, multi-layer DDoS attack protection that can control even up to 300 or 400 gigs of attacks, right? These are the kind of solutions that need to be in place. So if you have a solution like a security analytics solution which captures all of the packets that are flowing through through these devices and into the data center. And if there is an incident, then the kind of coordination that can happen between the SOC team, the respective CERT body, the respective police enforcement, probably the cybercrime cell, that becomes much more efficient. So to ensure that the governance happens effectively, tools are very important. No doubt having as Chetan rightly mentioned, having an effective governance framework is very, very important. Without that, even the tools are not going to help. But tools are going to be a key this thing. And just to quickly add, I think just in the current cybersecurity world, a close interaction with the computer emergency response team, whether it is CERT-in or if it's any other CERT body, is of absolute and paramount importance to be able to do that. And again, CERT is going to be a very key element of the framework between the police authorities, the municipal bodies, and anything, in all those anyways.
Yeah. Thanks, Rishikesh. Muni, you like to add from your Glasgow experience?
Yeah.
Could be the good governance model.
Yeah. Great points from Chetan and Rishi on process and tools, but there's one more element in the cost of the bit on governance, and that's about about readiness, right? The key thing, and we figured this pretty early in the game when we were actually doing the smart city framework, was that it's not just about do I have the processes, the tools, and the frameworks to work on. But it's also about what do you do with the legacy processes. I mean, you cannot, like, is the solution about, okay, now I have a CERT, do I need a smart city governance body, or do I need, even if I form like a FBI or a CBI or NatGrid, another Uber organization, the challenge is they still need to work with all the existing folks. You're actually not talking of disconnected world. The challenge not really about forming a new organization or forming new processes, but ensuring that these various governing bodies in our communities, in our cities, in our organizations are all connected. One is about connecting lives and connecting devices, but the third pillar to it is connecting access, identity, and security, right? It is about, we're not living in a fool's paradise where everybody will know very soon that the first step in implementing a smart city or a connected city is about connected enforcement. Having law enforcement and legal capabilities and provisions. Maybe we'll have new law, just like we had the IT Act 2008. IT Act 2008 may have to be evolved further to talk about what does it actually mean from a law enforcement perspective, right? In this new, suddenly connected, everything connected lifestyle.
Yeah. So the law and the policy things are also something which are very important in implementing and providing the governance in a smart city for the security perspective. Especially anything from Glasgow, you want to share, Muni?
So what we figured is actually working on legislation is really hard, not just for the private sector, but even for government. So the best way to work on policy is, and I figured it's pretty hard, is actually to keep the politics away. But that apart, actually, what was actually done was, well, we're not going to define another set of policy frameworks or documents or whatever. Live with the legacy. And the way to look at policy enforcement or governance was just instead of having new governance, just have connected governances. You have governance in every facet, institutions or organizations or public sector establishments. That's pretty actually, I would say a simple thing, First step, get them all connected.
Yeah, so very good point. So how can we have a connected governance so that the governments and the different departments are also connected and they're also thinking? And on the policy or the law, Chetan, do you have any thoughts that we want to add something? We want to give a request to the regulatory bodies to do something for the kind of revolution which you are expecting out of?
So not so much on policy or laws as much, but few other things that we can do in terms of the smart city and some of the recommendations that I would suggest from our experience. Is one of the things is like just this, there's a lot of data that also collected, and it's very important that we do privacy by design. And what we mean is here is that we co-locate a lot of authorization and authentication along with the data sets, and then understand what are some of the information that's collected, make sure it's stored right, it's collected right, and it's disposed of right. Because the privacy is very, very important. And then a lot of endpoint security and a lot of devices are collecting a lot of personal information. So that's one. Second is security by design. So we want to make sure that a lot of components are secure. And then there is vendor SLAs to make sure if there are any vulnerabilities, there's a fix. It's very easy to do. There is a patch available on our regular IT system, but how do you do that on a sensor, or how do you do it on a smart grid? So that becomes very, very challenging. The other is the operational mindset. So you not just monitoring now your regular IT infrastructure, but how do you change your mindset? And then you have to monitor a much larger span, and every small device becomes very, very important. How do you secure that? So one of the other things is also the physical security comes into picture, and that's very, very important because you have this huge span taking traffic controllers. There were miles and miles, and how do you make sure that somebody's not tapping into it, and then somebody's not manipulating the signals, and especially when there's a disaster, that would just be a nightmare. So those kind of things, we need to make sure that happens. And then, of course, understanding the model, threat model. So understanding what are the different business models and what are the different objectives of each of those, and doing a threat modeling around that, ensuring that you take the different scenarios, and if there's a genuine threat, what will happen, and then what's your disaster plan? How do you encounter that? So those are the things that are very, very important.
So before I go to Rishikesh and ask him about the disaster plans and the security norms, this privacy as a word, all my things are on my Facebook. Wherever I go, I put a photograph of it. And still I need a lot of my data to be private. And I'm not sure how many of you are aware that in one of the European countries, they had to move out the 6 smart meters, okay, because of the privacy policy that the country had adopted. Because by seeing the consumption of energy or electricity in a house, they'll be able to know whether the person is there in the house or not. Okay, and that is a threat to their privacy policy. As a result, they had to remove the smart meters, and they had to. I'm not sure how they are now implementing. So coming back to Rishikesh, Rishikesh, for the security, operations, in case of a disaster recovery and the kind of business continuity plans, how are you planning, and what are the best practices, and if you'd like to share something on that?
Well, I feel when it comes to disaster recovery for a smart city, pretty much whatever we do today for mission critical infrastructure are the same policies that we should follow for even IoT, because probably the smart cities fall a notch above mission critical but a notch below life critical. Right? So having a disaster recovery plan is absolutely necessary. But going by the way competition is heating up in that space and the kind of price points that would be expected, we wouldn't be too surprised to see vendors trying to cut corners by not investing in those disaster recovery solutions, right? And I think that is where I would want, or that is where I see one gap. And earlier you asked about if we want to make any request to any of the authorities. So from my side, I think if we can see some compliance standards coming through for IoT and smart cities, that would be really great, okay? Because most of the devices that get shipped today get shipped with default passwords and without basic levels of security. I mean, those are no-brainers, right? And the carrot is not working, so probably it's time to bring in a stick and make sure that, look at what happened to credit cards 10 years ago when PCI DSS came in. I mean, I don't know whether it was exactly 10 years or more or less, but when PCI DSS was implemented as a standard, the overall security of credit card transactions improved. So similarly, I think we need to have some global and probably even at a local domestic region, some level of compliance standard that vendors need to adhere to, that solution providers need to adhere to.
Yeah. So very good point, Rishikesh. I just want to give some information because I am part of the DITES, the Department of Electronics, the standard and guidelines team. So there is a draft standard and guidelines for IoT that has come. Okay. So a few things which for your benefit. So take an example of healthcare. Healthcare is a very regulated vertical. Okay. So what should be the security norms, what should be data protection norms, what should be the policies for this and that? For the healthcare sector, it is very much there. Okay. But now I'm connecting the healthcare with the communication industry as well as with the IT or the analytic industry and trying to create combination of all of these. So for a lady who is wearing a wearable device, who is being monitored by somebody, okay, now and she gets a heart attack. Whether the doctor which was supposed to see the report is responsible, whether that gadget provider is responsible, whether the connectivity provider is responsible, whether the person who was doing the remote monitoring from a service provider like us is responsible. And that is what is required. So it's not that the standard and guidelines or the policies or the security guidelines for a particular industry are missing. But in the case of Internet of Things, we are combining so many industries together that we have to revisit it and say what will the legal norms to it. Okay. There are only last 5 minutes left. I just want to ask Muni if he wants to add something on the best practices point.
Yeah. Before I get to that, I mean on the smart meters. So one of the things that they actually eventually did this, and I think that's a learning and very valid, is that whatever you do in the connected devices space, right, privacy becomes a challenge if the device or the end device and the end user are connected and not anonymized. The solution they figured is, well, except for metering, which is the back-end billing, every other information related to that meter is anonymized from the user. So, and actually, there are a lot of, the challenge today is not just about what should be the processes, practices, or technologies to be adopted to implement the security, privacy, and identity in M2M, IoT, and eventually smart cities. It is more about, it's actually more basic now. It's like, what should be the protocols? I mean, people have figured that, well, HTTP just doesn't work. I mean, the next wave of HTTP will not happen. Two-way communication just doesn't work in a smart city. A device should not be addressable. The device should say, here I am so and so, rather than somebody from a central network saying, hey device, can you do something? So there's a fundamental change in the way IT or computing in general and security more specifically will be dealing. Today, when we look at conventional computing, we see security as a neuron or a nerve. However, a nerve is just a part of our body, right? However, when you look at security in the smart city world or the connected IoT world, you need to flip your solution idea and not think of a nerve, but as a spine of connected nerves which can actually interoperate without breaking each other. Right? So and the spine, think of it, that the spine is really powerful, but it's also dangerous if you actually break the spine, right? So, and that's why our part has the left part and the right part, right? And I simply got to figure that out in the smart city world. But the key is about landing that spine. And I guess we're all part of that, part of the responsibility to land that spine without spondylitis.
So we have the last few minutes left. I'll be open for some questions, 2 or 3, and then we can close. Any question from anybody you like to ask? So I just want to, yeah. Okay. So if you can just introduce yourself and.
Yeah. I am Vikas from they are thinking why they use these smart meters. And because maybe that is one thing might be adding to that system and know whether you are in house or not. But that again should the who is the grid, who is the providing grid, they should protect the consumer from the other hackers.
Yeah.
So the proper security they should maintain. Nobody will hack into that.
I agree.
So they should not have removed because thinking that the thief or other malicious people will have to know whether you are there, then they can break into it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is actually the point, that I touched upon in terms of the application level security in the stack at the data center. Now, I have a portal which gives access to read my meters, and that gives me a trigger of if the meter reading is low for 2 or 3 days, then I'm out of house or something like that, right? So if there is better security out there, and this is no different really if you think about it from a banking security, right? I can access my bank account through a web, and that's pretty much well protected, or at least I hope it is well protected. So in security, I always need to use the word hope because you never really know. So, the same thing really applies here also. So maybe, I don't know the details of that particular thing, but if the response was really to remove all the smart meters, maybe that was an overreaction. I mean, that's just probably my off-the-cuff remark.
So every country has their own legal laws and the Privacy
Just to
Act.
add to what he just said, I mean, it's a very valid point that he brought up. But there's, again, that's not IT view. There's the other view. And the other view is what is turning out in the IoT space. And that is about, it's not just about, well, don't provide the functionality or anonymize the user. It's more about, is it the service provider responsibility? It's very hard. Service provider is just one of the players in the game. It's actually about, flowing responsibility across layers. It's not just the service provider. What if the service provider is secure? He has all the responsibility, but the hack is actually due to one of the devices by a malicious vendor, right? Who actually knows. It is about multi-layered responsibility and multi-layered technology solution. It's
just in the end, we thought of putting few points.
I just had one question.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I'm Divya. So this is slightly, amusing to me. We are talking about smart meters and how they are invasive to privacy. So I was just wondering, what about Google, who just tracks us not just whether we are at home or not, but everywhere? It's just that because we agree their terms and conditions and tell them, wow, you can just track me wherever I go. And second, you're talking about standardization of, standardization for the purpose of IoT. So, I mean, in a country where we still do not have any privacy law, you know, so how do you think the things would go ahead, and just your opinion about it? Thanks.
So that's actually a really good question, right? And it's now, it actually opens a Pandora's box. We are actually struggling with privacy people. Now you're suddenly thrown a new challenge. Privacy for people and connected devices with connected life, right? So it's not just about having privacy laws, but having privacy framework where people, the laws agree within them. So it's like there are laws and solutions and frameworks available, processes available in the world. It's just that tying them together. It goes back to my earlier statement. It's not just about connected life or connected devices. It's about connected security, connected policies. I think the answer is not about defining a new privacy thing. It's about connecting the existing privacy, guidelines, the frameworks, and the legal laws. I think that's the first step.
So Divya, just to add what Mani has. So you agree to this, you agree to give your information. But as far the law is concerned, we are and we can be located. So, Chetan, you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, all I want to say is like, so smart city, it's a necessity now. If you just look at India, by 2030, we'll have 68 cities which will have over 1 million population. So it's not, if you look at the necessity versus the risk, it's far more outweighs the risk that's there. So it's something that there's initiative there, and there are a lot of things that are being looked at as part of the smart city, 100 smart cities that the government is doing. So a lot of these things will get ironed out, and that's exactly the forum for that initiative. Other thing that just want to mention is it's really, this is very important. We want to make sure that the security, smart cities don't become dumb cities. Right? So that's very, very important. And benefit of smart city far outweighs the risk.
Yeah. So thank you very much for listening to us so patiently. Because you have one question, so last one, then we'll.
Hi, this is Shipra from.
Hi, Shipra.
And I have a question that is like this smart city, although it's an initiative by Indian governing body. So, but the skills, the services, the platforms, the storage devices, everything that is required to implement a smart city. Maybe that India itself, from within India, is not able to provide that. And we are getting the services or platforms from outside India. And in that case, it becomes an international legislation. And it comes like the data or the services, they are traveling cross borders. So how India will be able to manage, don't you think that it will open more points of access from outside India? Maybe that further, like maybe in future, if we have a breach or we have an incident, again we will be in an area where we are looking after like Europe or US or the service provider country.
Sorry, but I missed your name. Sorry.
Shipra.
Shipra, let me answer before you ask your second question. Indian data, for majority of the thing, is not allowed to be put in outside India. Whether it's telecommunication, it's healthcare, it's retail or banking. So if a bank has to create a data center or it has to go on cloud, that cloud data center has to be in Indian territory. Okay? So no doubt there will be a lot of benefits to the storage companies, there will be a lot of, but they have to build their data centers in India. The data won't be allowed to go outside. So we are not allowing the Indian data to go out. The Aadhaar card, okay? People come to India to learn how billion transactions are happening in a second. Okay? So we are, I have personally met number of experienced R&D guys who are trying to say how such a big storage can happen how those kind of transactions can happen, those milliseconds, how the security norms are being there. So don't worry about the data going out of India. We will be giving lot of businesses to different international companies, but our data won't go. And the Make in India as an initiative will be more or less requesting or forcing them. Because I just came across one of the contract where we bought 8 of those and we said 2 will buy from your location, but the next 6 has to be built in India. So hopefully we'll be forcing even the fabricators, the semiconductor device manufacturers to open their shops here in India. And many manufacturers are coming. So you have another question to ask me. But you should not worry about your data going out of India.
Yeah. And sorry, but just be rest assured that at NTT we are building world-class data centers, right? So we don't need to go outside for data teams. So that was a bit of marketing.
For any data.
Absolutely, yeah.
For everything.
Even Azure in India, the public cloud solution, even for Azure in India, which is our public cloud solution for Microsoft, both the primary and secondary reside in India.
Yeah.
So the DR is within India. Everything's for within.
Data is not allowed to go.
Not allowed to go. And not just about, as Rishi said, it's not just about the various verticals. The smart city, 100 smart city project framework actually calls that out. It's in the smart city. You cannot have data moving out of India, and all vendors have to comply with that.
So thank you very much. We are out of time. So it was really good to have you. Thank you. Thanks.